Hi everyone, this is Ayşenur Altan. In today's video, I'll show you how I used just 3 liters of raw milk to create a traditional Turkish foods. From yogurt and cheese to poğaça, börek, ayran and more. Everything is homemade and nothing goes to waste. Let's get started. I'm starting with 3 liters of fresh unpasteurized milk. I know not everyone can find raw milk, so feel free to use pasteurized milk for the recipes I'll be showing you. I first brought the milk to a boil, then let it simmer for about 15 minutes. During this time, I poured it back and forth with a ladle from a height. This helps some of the moisture evaporate and results in a thicker, creamier yogurt. After that, I rested the milk for 15 minutes to cool down a bit, and I poured into 2 jars about 800 milliliter each and let them cool down to around 45 Celsius degree before adding the yogurt starter. I kept 1 small cup aside to check the kaymak layer later. You can make yogurt using any live yogurt culture. Traditionally, we use a spoonful of old yogurt to start a new batch, but these days even homemade yogurt might not always have the healthy live bacteria we want. So I decided to use fresh probiotic culture I bought from the market. To activate it, I mixed the powder with some lukewarm milk that I poured back from the jars and mixed it with the powder and let it sit for about 15 minutes to activate. Meanwhile, the boiled milk had cooled down to around 45 Celsius degree. You can also check with your little finger. If it bites you a little bit, it's ready to add the live yogurt. I also add some of the old yogurt to the probiotic and milk mixture and then transfer it into my jars. I stirred gently with a spoon and covered them with plastic stretch film and poked a few holes to let moisture escape. Then I wrapped the jars in a thick cloth to keep them warm and left them in a quiet, draft-free corner of the kitchen for about 4 to 4.5 hours. After that, I checked gently if the yogurt has set, and it was beautifully thick, creamy and full of healthy cultures. You can also see them on the sides of the jar. Before eating, it's best to refrigerate it overnight, uncovered, so it can fully set and thicken. They looked beautiful and thick. I even turned the jar upside down to show you, and nothing happened. I couldn't wait to taste it, and believe me, it's so much better than store-bought yogurt. You can really tell it has live cultures. There is a slightly tanginess that gives it away in the best way. Beyaz lor peyniri, white cheese using vinegar. To make the cheese, let's get back to the milk I boiled yesterday. I had about 1.2 liters of milk left in the pan. It was still hot. I mixed in half a cup of vinegar. I used grape vinegar, but for a whiter result you can use apple cider, and 1 tablespoon of salt. Then I poured this mixture into the hot milk. You can also do this before the milk reaches boiling point to yield more cheese. Stirred gently and it started to curdle right away. After waiting for 15 minutes, I strained it using a fine strainer. You can also use cheesecloth for a more traditional method. I pressed gently with the back of a ladle to help release the liquid, also known as whey, and place the cheese in the fridge overnight. Don't throw away the whey, it's very nutritious and we'll use it to make a cheese brine and breads and pastries. The next day the cheese had set beautifully. I cut it into cubes and placed them into a jar. Then I prepared a salty brine using some of the leftover whey and poured it over the cheese. This helps keep the cheese from coming into contact with air, which could cause it to spoil. If stored this way in the fridge, the cheese can last for about 1 to 2 weeks. Just make sure the pieces are always fully submerged in the brine. Ayran, salty yogurt drink. Now let's make a classic Turkish drink, ayran. It's refreshing, hydrating, and only needs 3 ingredients: yogurt, cold water, and a pinch of salt. I used about 1 part yogurt to 2 parts cold water, added some salt, about 1/4 of a teaspoon, and whisked them together until smooth and foamy. You can adjust the thickness by using more or less water depending on your preference. Ayran is perfect alongside grilled dishes, pastries, or just as a cooling drink on a warm day. In hot days, you can also add some ice cubes to keep it cold. Cacık, yogurt, cucumber, cold soup, or side dish. Cacık is a quick and refreshing side dish or cold soup that only takes a minute to prepare. I used grated cucumber. No need to peel, it's extra nutritious and crunchy. You can also dice them very finely, sometimes I also do that. Add delicious yogurt. I used about 3/4 of a cup for 2 cucumbers, some salt. Give it a stir, and then I add some chopped dill from the freezer. You can always use fresh and dried mint, splash of water to loosen it up, and give it a stir, and it's ready to serve. You can drizzle some olive oil on top or garnish with few mint leaves if you like. It's light, cooling, and perfect as a meze, side dish, or even a dip. Kalem börek, rolled fried pan börek. One of the best way to use homemade cheese is in börek. Crunchy, savory pastry. You can fill it with all kinds of cheeses, herbs, or even vegetables. In Turkish markets, we often find classic white cheese that's perfect for börek. I also have some traditional lor cheese from my hometown Kastamonu, similar to ricotta. Today I'm gonna use mix of that with the cheese I made yesterday. The cheese was surprisingly firm, so I crumbled it with a fork and added the lor cheese. Then I combined them with chopped parsley and a pinch of salt to make the filling. I used yufka sheets and cut them into triangles. If you are using rectangular frozen filo dough, you can cut each sheet diagonally into 2 triangles or trim the edges to create a white base for rolling. I spread the filling along the white edge, as you can see, rolled it up tightly, and dipped my finger in water to wet the tip and seal each piece. Then I heated up some vegetable oil in my medium-sized skillet and fried my rolled böreks until deep golden and crispy. You can prepare the börek rolls ahead of time, store them in the fridge for 4 or 5 days or freeze them for later. Make sure the heat is medium high and fry until golden crispy. If you serve it right away, it will be delicious, flaky börek with a soft, savory filling, perfect as a snack or for breakfast. Poğaça, savory pastry using whey. Now let's use some of that nutritious leftover whey to make soft, delicious poğaça. Instead of milk, I used 1 cup of whey and cup of water along with cup of oil and either fresh yeast or dry yeast. 2 eggs, keeping the yolk for topping, using the whites inside the dough. Used 4 tablespoons of sugar. If anyone knows about this sugar dispenser, share them in the comments. First I added about 5 cups of flour and tablespoon of salt. Then added a double acting dry yeast and knead the dough until it is soft and pliable, adding more flour if needed. I turned the dough into a bowl, cover and let it rise until it doubles. Then I cut the risen dough into 20 pieces, shape them into balls, and this time I used kaşar melting cheese, it is similar to mozzarella, on top of them, and then rolled again, keeping the cheese inside. Place them into a tray. Let it rise again for about half an hour until it rises. Then I egg washed on top, heated up my oven into 200 Celsius degree, sprinkled some nigella seeds, and on the second pan I have another different flavored bread and baked until golden. Again, these are perfect for breakfast or tea time and a great way to use up whey while reducing food waste. With just 3 liters of raw milk, we made so many delicious things. Creamy yogurt, fresh cheese, ayran, cacık, börek, and soft poğaça. Nothing went to waste, even the leftover whey found its place in our kitchen. I hope this video inspires you to try homemade dairy and enjoy the process as much as the result. Let me know which one you'll make first or if you ever tried something similar in your own kitchen. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next episode. Afiyet olsun.